Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Doc of Detox show. Today's show is the power of PEMF and viruses with Larry Langdon. Look, this show is revolutionary. The energy medicine equipment we're going to show you today is a huge breakthrough in dealing with viruses, but not just with viruses, but bringing frequencies into the body that help to balance the body right down to the mitochondria level. Okay, how would you like to go in with a specific frequency that will go in and deal with a specific virus or microbe or even a parasite? And understand something. Healing is about thinking right, eating right, drinking right. But understand this, we are energy, light, frequency beings. And we work on frequencies. We have frequencies like blue light. We have 5G. We have all types of frequencies that are disrupting us and putting us out of balance. How would you like to learn about the most powerful tool in helping to bring the right frequencies in and to create balance and to go in and deal with predators that are actually feeding off low vibrational tissue, bringing up your vibration so that you can actually create an environment for healing? I hope you enjoy this show. Because guess what? On Thursday, March the 19th, okay? All right? So that's only 2 days from now. We're going live and we're going to take all your questions, all your live questions. And also, please, underneath right now, you can actually type in your questions, all right? And you know the beautiful thing about this is that this show and even the Q&A show will be up on YouTube and it will be time-stamped. So you can go to where the topic that we were talking about that interests you, and you can go to the question that you brought in here or the question that you heard. If you want to share that answer, you go to YouTube and it will be time-stamped and you will be able to go directly and get the answer that you're looking for. Okay? So let's begin the show. Larry Langdon is a trained high-end electrical engineer. He has worked at companies such as Boeing and Microsoft. Where our story starts is in the year 2000. Larry Langdon was bitten by a tick while hiking, like many others. I mean, how many people go for hikes? And guess what happened? And he was one of the unfortunate ones because he contracted Lyme's disease. Since then, Larry Langdon has devoted his time to understanding the possibility of turning around these symptoms to actually help the body heal. Through non-conventional energy medicine, he has developed his own energy medicine device that has given him and many others that were in his condition and even worse back their life. Because once you change the inner terrain, you change everything. Today we are going to learn more about this wonderful story and its amazing journey. Hello, Larry. How are you, my friend?
Good, Dr. Wolfe. Doing excellent. Better than ever, actually. Um, I'll answer whatever questions you have, and I'll do my best.
Well, I know you will. You've always done your best, my friend. And we are so, how can I say this? We're so excited to share this information. I've been actually using what's called the sentient element in my practice. And most of the people that come to take my certification courses in Wolfe Non-Surgical and in the Whole Life Coach actually purchased this unit because this unit is a workhorse when it comes to delivering frequencies into the human body. And I'll tell you, the beauty about this is you can run a whole bunch of frequencies at once and deal with a lot of disorders on many different levels. But before we start there, Larry, why don't you tell us about your background and your work experience, just to start? How's that?
Okay, sounds good. I have a BS in electrical engineering. I've worked at Intel, National Semiconductor. I love the semiconductor companies. It's a lot of work. It's stressful to work there, but we could see submicron channel lengths of material, and anyway, just that alone. I guess it's a combination of all the things that I've done. I've worked at Boeing, Microsoft, even at a billionaire's house on secret stuff. So you can guess. So if I were to combine my whole work experience and getting bit by a tick, it's culminated into making I think it's the best PMF device on the planet because it has this huge power range. You can actually use all 20 amps of a 20 amp circuit, and that's 2,400 watts. But we don't have to operate that high. We can operate a very low earth field designed around the earth. I feel like I plagiarized God because I just stole the earth field and replicated it into various power levels and its harmonics.
But if we can't, Larry, let's step back a little bit. So were you an outdoor person?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so when you went on this hike, how long did it take before you realized you were bit, or did you feel you were bit and you grabbed the tick, you poked the tick, and then how long before it actually started undermining your health?
Oh gosh, it took a few months, in about 3 years, and I really thought I was just getting old, But the tick was in the back of my neck. You could never see a bullseye rash because it's back there, So this premise like, oh, you have to see a bullseye rash it's all bunk. It's all disinformation, and there's a lot of it with Lyme. And so I just kept scratching this thing back here, and for probably weeks, I even went to some doctors, and they go, "Oh, it looks like a bug bite." Had no idea, no clue, no red rash. I probably had a rash, but of course, I can't see there, right?
But if you can, tell me the progression. Okay, so you scratched it, you didn't know what it was, but you kept scratching it. So how did the symptoms play out? I mean, how long did it take before you were Larry in bed?
It probably took about 3 years. So there's this like 3 months and 3 years kind of a progression where just within days I had some issues. Mostly joint around my neck where the tick bite area was. And then about 3 months later, I couldn't keep up with my friend's mountain bike riding. And this is like 20 years ago, right? In the year 2000. So I couldn't do much. I mean, I was a little bit, I just felt like I was getting old. Joint problems started showing up, headaches, brain fog even. Later on, I had hair falling out, couldn't hear, couldn't see very well. I had some issues walking and hiking with my within my knees and down, with lower extremities. A little bit of neuropathy showed up, and I mean, there's like 66 symptoms that I've counted of the 400 Lyme conditions, possible Lyme conditions, and their co-infections. So it turns out I had a form of Bartonella also. It wasn't Bartonella, hence I tested negative for that. So if I had that, it would have been worse. But I had Bartonella quintana. It's kind of like a trenched, rotting feet, kind of a Bartonella. And the World War II soldiers got that a lot. Or World War I, I mean. And I think, well.
So can you tell me what did you do? Did you go through the process, the assembly line process, medical system process, until you were worn out with that? And then all of a sudden you said, I'm going to use my mind. I'm going to use everything that I've learned in business, and I'm going to see if I can get myself well. I mean, how does that play out?
Well, I was hiking with a doctor later, and she said we should get tested. So I ended up getting an IGeneX test for Lyme, and it turned out positive. Because I got to talk about the testing for just a split second.
Please, no, take your time. Take your time.
There's an antibody test that's completely failed everyone that gets bit by a tick or gets Lyme. There's so many ways to get Lyme. There's like 14 species of spiders, fleas, mice, ticks. The nematodes that are on the fruits and vegetables of the store have found the Lyme spirochete. So it's probably in the fish in the ocean. It's probably, the birds are carrying it. In fact, the migrating birds all across the Canadian border were tested positive for some zoonotic infection. So it's major. It's a pandemic, and I know. I want to talk about just the focus on the device and what happened to me specifically, but I have to throw in a few things because this is major. What's happening here is major, and part of my getting discovered what happened with me has to do with all this disinformation. Because I went to, I think it was 3 different doctors, over that time period where they just said, "Oh, it looks like a bug bite," and it's like, "Go your way, go home, see you later, bye." No conversation that it could be like a really serious thing, and so it's just basically ignored and just keep getting baked as the years go by. You get baked. So 10 years later, I'm hiking with a doctor, and she says, I'm limping. I can't keep up even hiking, walking. So she said, let's get you. I tested. This knew about Lyme, and it came back positive. IGeneX tested positive, showed that I was really baked with Lyme. So I started taking some antibiotics, and that completely failed me because it destroyed my gut. I ended up in the hospital with a bunch of hospital typical infections that are highly virulent. So I got sicker and sicker, and what I wanted to do was I actually was going to die, but I wanted to look into other modalities like energy medicine. And I saw some people were in an underground Yahoo group. People were getting better, not completely, but they were getting relief using a Doug coil. So I looked into that, and I go, well, this is when PEMF started. More studies were coming out, so I did a lot of research.
Larry, excuse me for 1 second. What's a dove coil? Because you know about it, but can you tell our audience what a dove coil is?
Oh, it's a guy named Doug in Issaquah, Washington. It's basically built a PEMF device, and he used an amplifier and it wasn't a very good one, so I had some problems. So I thought, I could just build a better. I'm an engineer. I can build a better one. So I did. So what I did was I built one that could work with an iPhone app and an amplifier that won't smoke, that won't blow up. So we had to learn how to manage the power. Some competition copied my design, and they didn't know how to manage the power. So they just turned everything down, and then it quit working. So people were mad. So we have a device, and the studies do show that you need the power. And about 90% of the PEMF devices out there they won't work according to the studies that are for the requirements of the studies. So it's important to have a powerful device, but you don't run it on power. Like there's regenerative type activities you can do with PEMF that are low power, and it turns out that these low Earth fields, frequencies, and their harmonics are part of our well-being. In fact, NASA said life would not exist without it. And that includes plant life. So what I did was I made sure that it was really strong around 20 hertz as the peak, and but I also made it so you could I found a document, a National Institute of Health study that shows that you can debilitate pathogens, and then it was buried off the internet. You can download it from the website, but you can't find it. And there's about 1,100 pathogens, and their debilitating frequencies and their harmonics and all kinds of information, genome pairs and so on. And it turns out that was true. That worked because I did a Lyme sweep, a Lyme plasmids. Plasmids are the things that shed off the spirochete, and they can be like hatchlings. They can be other material, RNA for other things. So PEMF works really well cleaning that up. So we have a Lyme plasmid sweep. It gets the Lyme in some of the plasmids, not all of them. And then afterwards you run a detox frequency, and it's proven. I think you tested this too with a doctor with live blood.
Yes.
On live blood. Do you tell me about that? Because that's pretty awesome. I never got much feedback from you on that.
Well, no, just that when they tested it, they saw a huge difference. But that was just with one test. But the biggest test is what our patients are feeling like, right? Not even about Lyme's, but joint pain, breathing disorders, even such things as relieving symptoms from cancer. How about migraines? That's another big one that this thing was really. I have a lady I just talked to yesterday, and where she would get a migraine, and it would last for like 8-10 days. She was knocked out, And now, if she feels it coming on, she puts the coil on top of her head. And she has now picked 8 programs that she runs. And she says it takes 1 hour. And that's it. So now she's living with it for an hour, not 8 to 10 days. So, the proof is in the pudding right from that to anything. So, it's all about cleaning the blood, right? It's all about cleaning up the tissues, bringing up the harmonics. But I want to go back to when you did the antibiotics, okay? Did that even cause a huge downfall, and did more symptoms come up? What happened, or did it just not work?
Oh yeah, no. I just went symptom crazy with. I felt like my whole body was going to fall apart. I mean, things got worse. Vision, hearing, hair loss, edema, neuropathy. Got a huge amount of edema. Couldn't walk. Actually, I was completely disabled, like wheelchair disabled. But I refused to get in the chair like a lot of those people do in the carts at the store. I actually collapsed in the store, and I'd have to get the cart. And so, what I did, how I progressed with that is I actually got legally disabled on SSI, government money, and because I couldn't walk, I was not functional. I went to interviews. I thought, I had this great career. I thought I'd just go into interview and easy. I passed the interviews real easy. I would get a job in an instant. I always be working no matter what, because I'm engineering. That's what I like, and I had this high tech resume, and it just opened lots of doors. But when I went to an interview, I had so much brain fog. Got bit in the back of the neck. It just, the first organ it attacked was my brain. Lipids. I mean, your brain's nothing but, well, it's a bunch of things. I don't know. You know more about the brain than I do, but because it consists of so many lipids, the bugs love fat. They love the lipids. And that's where the major attack was. So the first thing I did with coiling was I did do my head, and like you just stated, and I had a big hurt. The first time I did, I ran 4 frequencies. I knew that would work for Lyme.
Can you show them sorry to interrupt, but can you show them what the coil looks like? So when we say the coil on the head, so they understand.
Yeah, we have covers. Yeah, let me get my screen up. We have covers for these coils. But you can take the cover off and a little bit adjustable, and you could just put it over your head. And if you want to, depending on what you want to work on, you can work on Bell's palsy, your eyesight, hearing, and just general, like, knock out some amyloid plaque that's going on in your brain.
Right.
Because that's what it leads to. It does create the amyloid plaque, is what you end up with having Lyme in your brain. So, what else? The covers are cool because they can rest on your head. I don't know.
Well, and they're washable. They don't necessarily need to see them, but they're also washable. So you can get a cover for each person in the family if you really wanted to. But
yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. So so basically, you had to biohack your the Lyme's disease. That's what it came down to, right?
Yeah, it was biohacking and doing the research behind it, because I'm an engineer. I'm very empirical about this. And I want to make sure that there's a study or something that proves, and I had to prove it to myself, because I go, this is too weird. This works. And I had to go look it up, and I still am finding things. I go, why does it work? So now I found very technical things on how it works, how the ions go through the cell wall, ions of nutrition, which need to be bioavailable.
Can you take some time and go really slowly, step by step, and just tell us the physiological and scientific process of why the unit works and what it's doing as slowly as possible? And I might just kind of come in when I think that you said something that our audience might not understand. Okay?
Okay. So
all right.
You interrupt. You just go ahead and interrupt me if I use a big word or something. So how this works is, I'll just tell you. I'll do enumerate some things that work with PEMF. It uncoagulates your blood, hydrates the cell, boosts ATP, and it turns out that high frequencies like your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi, they're 2.4 gigahertz, same as your microwave oven frequency. And that's, like in your head, maybe you have Bluetooth right there right now. That's 2.4 gigahertz.
Bluetooth I don't have Bluetooth. This is wired. There's a wire behind me. Yeah.
Okay, this is what's happening. This is what everybody's doing. They're all surrounded by it now. So it turns out these high frequencies, they go intracellular. They alter. They can actually mess with your mitochondria, and that's that little energy egg-shaped thing that's inside of each cell, and you have about 100 trillion, give or take a few.
Yeah, it's a power.
And
It's the power generator for the cells, and anybody that's sick, their mitochondria is not working properly anymore. It's basically dysfunctional.
that's right. And so what we're getting, or what we're seeing, and the studies are showing that these high frequencies help coagulate blood, and they're going to alter. They actually can lead to cancer, and we have cell phone cancer now. So, but the cool thing is this: you can mitigate that with low Earth fields. So higher frequent or higher power, but lower frequencies, like the Schumann frequency and its harmonics.
What's the Schumann frequency, and also, why don't you tell people how they're lacking the Earth field now, and why you built this, and why you're trying to put the Earth field back into people's bodies?
Right, because I do a lot of research now. Some of my research, I discovered that an Israeli doctor, a research doctor, discovered that about 2,500 years ago, that people lived longer and grew taller, but the Earth field was 3 times stronger. And they did this by looking at clay pots, because when they fired them, it locked in the magnetics of the Earth. So they could go back and they could test the level of the Earth. So it's interesting.
So they could actually go back to a clay pot that was made centuries ago and actually test it for the Earth field that was back then to show the difference to today.
And you go, well, how could they know what the date of the pot is? Well, they were time stamped. The Roman Empire had these, for taxing purposes, made this little stamp on the pot so it could be qualified for a measuring device. So it was down within the month. So they got this magnetic data down to the month in that era, and it's pretty interesting. And now we're finding that, I know this sounds, I'm going to tell you some things you've never heard of before, but not even 500 years ago, there were 25 million people living in America, mostly Ohio Valley, the Midwest and all that. But you've never been told that. The Smithsonian's covered it up. Smithsonian's covered up a lot of things. The mound builders in Ohio, tens of thousands of mounds. Guess how, the burial mounds, guess how tall those skeletons were? Just,
I don't know. I don't know.
But we've never been educated with this. 7 to 9 feet tall skeletons. And it turns out, I did some more research. The magnetic north was down closer to the Great Lakes. They called it the Hudson North Pole, in Hudson Bay North Pole. So we don't have much data past 1800 something, but it turns out now that the Earth field is moving about 150 miles per year, and it's headed towards, the north has now gone all the way across the North Pole and headed towards Siberia, and the South Pole has left the continent, headed towards the west coast of Australia. And now they're saying we have 50 years before the flip happens. There could be a pole shift, flip. And then NASA website says, oh, it happens all the time. And don't worry, it's like it happened. Well, the last time it happened was 780,000 years ago. But now we're looking at this flip. We're overdue. So it's going to be just a slow weakening of the field, and then it'll be down for maybe they're saying 100 years. You get an EMP like the Carrington event.
So Larry, what we're really getting down to is we're taking a look at science. We're looking at true science that the Earth field is weakening. All right. So with everything else that we're getting and all these negative frequencies around us, this is what I tell everyone is, you know what? You've got to become a frequency master. So, you've got to use things like, what did Einstein say? Einstein said that the future of health will be in energy medicine, and people will learn how to harness frequencies to rebalance their own.
Yeah, they're even saying like maybe Stonehenge and some of these things, people used it to get higher level, or it was kind of a frequency device. I don't know that for sure, and again, I'm an engineer. I try to be very empirical about this. But the Native Americans had places to go. They had, turns out, to have higher frequency areas, and they would build a structure around that, or higher power frequencies. There in the Schumann frequency 7.83 hertz, and you could take harmonics of this. And
Okay, sorry. Again, what is the Schumann? Again?
it's the Earth field is 7.83 hertz,
Okay.
and it's a very healthy one, and it moves around a little bit, but and this is a good thing. But it's all getting really weak now. We had typically I think we have 50 microtesla now. It used to be like 80, not in my lifetime. So it's even gone. It's going to go to half. It's its way to 40. So in my lifetime, it's gone in half. So again, being an engineer, I want to make a device that's like the Earth, and it's a 50-50 duty cycle, and which is healing. And it's, by the way, regenerative medicine uses a frequency, and they use nutrition. So they basically start from a stem cell to grow a kidney on your gut or something that they can transplant into you. I don't know how they're doing that, but they can grow a kidney and then put it in, transplant it back inside. But this nutrition into frequency to help facilitate its growth. So you start looking at this in the ions through the cell wall. You asked me to tell you technically.
Yes.
So there's a sodium potassium ion channel. There's a calcium magnesium ion channel. These are the 4 electrolytes that are in your Gatorade and usually what the sports medicine or sports drinks are. So when you have Lyme, you don't absorb nutrition. So for Lyme people, having a PEMF device is it's life-saving. It was life-saving for me. I had MS symptoms, couldn't walk. I mean, I should have been diagnosed with MS. But I got lucky. I got disabled legally. So what it does is it facilitates that absorption amongst all the other things I mentioned, uncoagulates blood. What do you do when and most people have some level of coagulation going on because of the foods, the environment, toxins, all kinds of things that can coagulate blood. The frequencies, high frequencies can. So it turns out the cell phone and microwave type frequencies coagulate, the earth field uncoagulates. And this is probably the way to mitigate this high frequency damage that's going on, because now it's going to carry more oxygen, more nutrients. Now you got to clean up the blood. Your liver's supposed to do that, right? You could tell me about that. It's I found out, and I know this sounds really not very medical, but an Epsom salt bath and coffee enema did more relief for my Lyme in getting rid of the toxins, and it just gave me instant relief, within the hour. And that's when after that, I started doing that at first to get relief, but my symptoms, I was disabled. I couldn't function. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't pass an interview when I'm used to making a lot of money, my millions, basically I made in my life, and basically lost it all because of Lyme and started over. So I think because I was an engineer and I started slowly recovering, I could develop things, and I could read the studies now. Anyway,
Excellent.
you have
Larry, let me ask you a question. Tell us your experience in developing this. You didn't just develop it overnight. What did you go through, and did you have any failures with it? I think it's important that people understand it, because you've never told me before, but can you just tell us the journey of the first time this was a little seed in your mind, and where we are today? Just give me a little breakdown.
Well, I was poor and not functional. And so I started having hope. I think it's some kind of it's a little bit of guidance, it's like a consequence that things just showed up when I needed them, like wire that I could wind a coil. So I started with a small coil, and I didn't have a clue that I could blow up the amplifier. So I blew up thousands of dollars worth of amplifiers trying to get this going. Then I did impedance matching, and I found an amplifier design where you could actually short circuit it now, and it'll just shut off. It knows, it's smart. It's got a little computer on it, and it's got a patent too. So it's really cool that we have this board. But I went through hell, suffered for a couple of years trying to do development while I had Lyme. But then I found some things that clicked, and the things that clicked were certain frequencies. Like 306 is my love frequency for Lyme. I mean, it's the Lyme kill frequency for me. It's and then there's cleanup. So the blood sweep, I had to look up the blood sweep, and I found them from National Institute of Health Studies. So this is not pseudoscience. This is not made up. This is real. And I think what we've got to do is we just got to delve into this more and do more research, because now we're going to find out you can target a specific pathogen, which I have done. And I've done it for 8 pathogens, found the 3 sigma. 3 sigma is like the FDA requirement of proving that it works. And it's a really low standard, but it's proof. It's the way, it's like the efficacy. It's like what is proof that it's working. So anyway, did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. I have another question. So I know myself that there's like 20,000 PEMF studies worldwide that prove what PMF is, but can you give us any, do you know any of the latest information that they might be coming out with? And I have another question for you right after that, but please go ahead.
Oh God, well, there's very empirical evidence of targeting specific things, and they're now FDA approved. Cancer is one of them. Glioblastoma, depression. I ran across a depression study. It's regenerative for your brain, and I statistically, I don't even know where to begin because I can't even say it fast enough. But a lot of the brain stuff that's going on is parasites. And if you look at what a brain parasite is, it's toxoplasmosis you get from your cat. 20% of the country has toxoplasmosis. And another separate study with schizophrenia says that, we just over half of those people actually have that were diagnosed with schizophrenia have toxoplasmosis. So then you could do the math and you go backwards and say, well, that means 10% of the country is crazy, but is schizophrenic. So,
you know what, if I can say something, a lot of people think that there's something wrong with them emotionally, mentally, and they don't realize that they've been bugged.
Well, they have anxieties, their personality swings, bipolar. Which pole are you from today? It's like, there's all these behavioral issues, and here's the rest of the data. Borrelia is a brain parasite. Bartonella Hensley is a major brain parasite, and it lives inside the cell, alters your mitochondria, it messes with the alteration of your cell. So when you do a Venn diagram, like, circle of friends on Facebook, you put that together, it's something like 54% of the country has a brain parasite. And then half of those people are having behavioral problems, hence all the opiates and everything else, depression. And so just if you're at a 4-way stop, one of those people are going to screw up, because that's 25% of the country has a behavioral problem. And you look at the homeless, and it's a great place to start to test some of this stuff. The government should, instead of forking all this money and all this problems and issues, they could just cure them, and about 90% of them could go back to work. That's what I'm saying. 100% I would say close to 100% of the homeless people have an infection. And statistically, I've done my research. I have a study, 88% of the country is infected with some low-level zoonotic animal to human, cat licks your face, but you can live to be 90. If you're over 65, it's 92.2% of the people are infected. Well, how about just kill the pathogen? Well, the tests are flawed. And so here's how it's flawed. I'll give you an example if you want to hear a flawed example here of what's going on.
Please, go right ahead.
Because this is where PMF can really come in, is people, I've diagnosed people, not as a doctor, but I say, go get tested, go see the doctor, go to a Lyme doctor and get tested. So they get an IGeneX test for Bartonella Hensley. Oh, it came back positive. Oh, you're really baked with Lyme and Bartonella. And so people have had Bartonella, they take the test results to their doctor, and the doctor will say, after he gets self-educated on it, says things like, I looked it up, it's endemic, and everybody has it, I can't help you. They can't even test for it. IGeneX tested for it, but IGeneX gets debunked. So it's not a credible lab, but it's the most credible lab. if you're a Lyme person, you'll find that out real fast. So the antibody tests are mostly failed. So you get an antibody test for Lyme or whatever, so whatever zoonotic test you can do, and they'll do them in IGeneX and other really good labs, but they'll come back as, they'll come back positive if they're IGeneX, and you won't get help. But the regular mainstream like LabQuest or some of these other, they're getting better, by the way, or LabCorp, whatever these labs, or they'll do a Lyme test, but it'll be an antibody test. They don't really do PCR DNA. I think they're starting to. There's several more labs that have opened up. One in the Northwest here, but basically what I'm saying is if you can get the proper test, you can actually have a life and have longevity and live. You don't have to be in assisted living when you're 50, because that's what's happening now. People are going in assisted living when they're late 30s, because the doctor says, oh, you might have MS, but the doctor won't tell them that, oh, it's curable, because MS is a zoonotic bacteria, and you can wipe out the bacteria. And I'm going skiing I ski now. I can go on long walks, and I'm really actually pissed. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you should. That's all right. That's a good word.
No,
I mean,
I really
everybody, most people do that every day. So go ahead.
I really am. I PO'd at the ignorance, and it's by design. If someone just gives you money, and like people will take change from the grocery store, they'll keep the extra money. How many people go back and are honest, say, well, you gave me an extra 20 or something. Well, this is how we're being racketeered on. And it's mostly pharmaceutical companies. I hate to say that, but these tests, they know what's going on. Some higher level people know this, and they know what's going on. And there's a cover up in Lyme, if you want. And it sounds conspiratorial, but they're children. When they say it's not sexually transmitted, but it's a spirochete, like it's a cousin to syphilis. But isn't syphilis sexually transmitted? And then they say, well, it doesn't go through the placenta, so your child can't contract Lyme, but yet they do. It's been proven, but there's all this disinformation is coming from the CDC, and then the regular mainstream is getting all this disinformation, and they all mimic all these medical websites. They all mimic each other, and they just mimic the disinformation. So I have empirical evidence that I can safely say that I have evidence of everything I'm doing and I've done on me. And it's from a national, we're talking multi-million-dollar studies, maybe $500 million or more of studies that I've been working with, that are, to me as an engineer, are very empirical. And they tell you, a lot of these studies tell you the frequency, like for breast cancer, there's a frequency, 20 hertz, and it's 3 millitesla, not too far out of the range, give or take. And you have to do it I think an hour a day or something. Or a half hour every 12 hours, and quit eating sugar and gluten, and change your diet to maybe you should go to a naturopath for that, or a nutritionist, because your cancer will just disappear. There's no reason for it. I know you have experience in this, but having a PEMF for that, just all it does is induce circulation, you're starting to detox because of that alone.
Larry, I'd like to do something if we can. I'd like to talk about the simplicity of the device, because believe it or not, everyone, we have an element in every one of our treatment rooms. And this is how simple it is. We'll have our client, patient, whatever you want to call them. They'll come in and they'll actually download the app on their phone. And then you can put any frequency on your phone. And then what they'll do is they'll put the frequencies on their phone, they'll plug it in, and then they'll just run it. And understand something. This equipment is so simple to use. We will show our client patients, one time. And then they come in and they do it prior to us doing our Wolfe Non-Surgical therapy, or after, depending on what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. And you have to understand something. Everything on this planet has a frequency. Everything you eat, everything you drink, and all these microbes, and your tissues. So we know this. It's like Larry's saying, it's all documented. So what we've done is we've created a manual that you can go into the Doc of Detox library and take a look at. It's so simple to use. And then if you want to take a look at the actual device and see what it looks like and take it further, you go to EMF/light on my website. And this is where we'll also have a link to this show if you want to share it with other people. It'll be at EMF/light. It'll also be in the manual in the Doc of Detox library that you can go in there and log into our library and find all kinds of great information like this. But I'd like you, Larry, to just explain how simple but how powerful this is, and that anybody can learn how to use this. It's even though there's thousands and thousands of frequencies out there.
Well, it's extremely flexible. So you could look up your own research and try to. I get calls from clients that are customers, and they're telling me 10,000 hertz. It actually runs on our coil. This one call, and they got their Lyme pain. It debilitated their Lyme pain, but our coil doesn't really put out that much power at 10,000 hertz because it's designed to work under 2,500. So I get a Gauss meter and I put it on the coil at 10,000 hertz, and it says, oh, it's still more than the ambient earth field. So it does work. So, and people's pain went away to several people. So it is so simple. This is how customers can use it. They can find their own. So I'm finding new things that people are telling me what's working. So I'm putting those in a library. And then I look up the study on it, and there's studies like you could almost put PEMF space anything, and you'll find you'll just find endless studies now, and most of them are within the last 3 or 4 years. This is amazing. What I think what needs to be studied more is how it debilitates pathogen. There's a few TED.Talk videos on that. Few YouTube videos. In fact, there's a YouTube video where a guy looks at his own live blood and he sees the spirochetes come out of the biofilm, and they line up. We go hand to hand, and I go, as an engineer, I go, that's an antenna. How about we tune that, to a frequency, and you do. They all kind of come undone, and so they're coming out of the biofilm and blast them. So, and a lot of doctors don't know about biofilm, and their biofilm disease, like, what's all that crap in your gut? Biofilm. What can live in the biofilm is a spirochete. It can live, all kinds of toxins. So for me, I've already experienced Pseudomonas aeruginosus from the hospital, found a 3 sigma exact frequency for that. And I found, lately it's been E. coli, the exact frequency for that. And that's been lingering in me for a while. So they both cause UTIs, but you find that you can look everything up. So our device, what we have is we have an app right now. It's off the shelf. It's really expensive. It's like $2. So you just download it. We have a video on how to download it, set it up, and run it. And we have screenshots of, they're not in the manual, but they're going to be screenshots of very specific things of setting it up for, like the blood sweep or a Lyme plasmid sweep or a Candida sweep. And they work. And they're based on the National Institute of Health studies. I don't want to claim anything until I see a study, and then I'll go, oh, well, unless it worked on me. And there's a lot of things that have worked on me and other people, and the people are telling me. So I know this works. There's overwhelming evidence, 20,000 plus studies worldwide.
But on that, if you don't mind, Larry, on that note, I just want to say something, everyone. So, I've been right now, it's 40 years that I've been working with energy medicine equipment, right? Began with Rife, began with ozone. And I will tell you that I've also had like MRS mats in my clinic. I've had Beamer mats. Okay. I've had almost every PEMF device that's out there and we've used. There was even the people that actually took Larry's technology, their device is nowhere near Larry's. And I have to say this, and I'm going to say it because it's honest.
It's
You know,
probably
uh,
a
uh,
true story.
yeah, this is a true story. And, Larry, you're looking at Larry's device, which is the powerhouse of all PMF that I know of on the planet. I'll stand behind that. And it averages around 50% to 35% of the cost of all these other PMF devices that aren't touching it, as far as I'm concerned. And that's me putting my professional understanding and from working with his device and just seeing the symptoms change with people. And the thing is with what we do as the clinic is we will treat, but the object is to get this into everybody's hands, because treatment is one thing, but being trained on it and having it in your home is another thing, because you want to be able to go in and treat yourself. Because I want everybody to get this one thing, and I'm going to pass it back to Larry. Everything you drink and everything you eat leaves the body. The only thing that stays behind is the frequency. So what we're doing is we're hacking. This is called biohacking. So instead of trying to nutrition, right? We're going to cut to the source. We're going to do nutrition too. I mean, it's all about teamwork makes the dream work, healthy body, right? But the reality is that the only thing that stays behind, think about this, everything you eat and drink leaves the body except the frequency. So what we're doing is we're doing like Einstein said, right? Harness the frequency and get in there and change the terrain and send those bugs packing. Larry?
Well, interestingly, sports medicine athletes can actually charge themselves up. They can boost their ATP, and all those electrolytes, they can actually charge their cells with them. So all that Gatorade stuff that it doesn't absorb while they're on a marathon. How does that get through the system? It does, because they're in shape for it. But if you're uncoagulating the blood, getting perfect blood, carrying more oxygen, more nutrients, and you're charging your cell as an athlete, you're going to be faster off the start. You're going to be able to be charged up to go your full power. And I don't know what football is using, but you see athletes getting, they break their ankle, they're back on the field within weeks. They say they're out for the season, but they're not. They get back in the game. So FDA approved, by the way, 40 years ago for bone healing. And that's on Wikipedia. It's all over the internet. But so getting back to, right out of the gate, you get charged up. You get ATP, which is the cellular level energy. So this is major. I forgot your question exactly what you were leading to, a very specific answer here, I think. So,
No, it's all good, Larry. Everything is about energy, though. That's all I'm saying. Everything is about energy and being able to go in there and fine tune the frequency to bring up the energy levels.
And boost ATP. Those are the biggest things. And while it's hydrating, those electrolytes are going through the cell wall. They're being absorbed because they're being depleted if you're doing a marathon. So it's major for sports medicine, for healing, for running a marathon, for almost any activity. And because I had Lyme, and I've suffered many years with it, probably total suffering, 15 years. But there was a peak of that where I actually was completely disabled. That was about 7-8 years ago. And so there's like 400 conditions. I got to tell you that it works on most of those conditions. And so what I did, I went beyond Lyme, discovered you could heal a joint, heal bones, get better eyesight, get better hearing, you could knock a lot of things out, including cancer. I've seen cancer debilitate. I'm going to say cure because that's a misnomer. But I mean, I could go on and on about all the things that I've discovered. 3 sigma on 8 different pathogens. And that's major. Why are we doing this? You go look up ions through the cell membrane. You get 230 million search results on Google. You look up regenerative medicine. You get 25 million search results. You go, read the first 10, and and understand that. So now we have studies to show the exact waveform of the ion channel of how ions are going through, and it's called an ion pump. And so that frequency that it works with pH, and pH is voltage minus 400 to plus 400 millivolts. And you look at this range of how this all operates in biology. It needs the energy. It needs the magnetic field. If you like 50, like to do the sodium potassium pump, you need like 200 hertz. It's approximately 50. The whole cycle is like 50 milliseconds, which makes 200 hertz. It's the inverse function. So you look at this and you go, again, why are we doing it? What's the issue? This is too simple. Doctors don't understand nutrition. They don't understand the frequency. It's an engineering approach to biology, which is not being done.
Yeah, but if I can say something, Larry, doctors are programmed not to give people back their power. What you're doing is you're giving them back the power to actually unleash their own healing. So
in their home even. And they can look up, we have the internet, we can look up all these studies, right? So people can go up and look up whatever, look up the study, look at the frequency, look at the duration, everything that goes with that. They can do it at home.
Yeah, and what people need to understand too is that Larry talks about Lyme's because it's dear to his heart. It's personal. I mean, basically this device turned him around, but the reality is it works on A to Z, everybody. And this is what I want you to do, is do your homework, okay? Take a look and go into our library. Take a look at, go take a look at the manual. It's called the Sentient Element Manual. You'll see it in the Doc of Detox library. You can also go to EMF/light. Take a look at the information there as well. And what we want you to do is prepare yourself. You've got 2 days. Okay. And if you don't do your homework there, think about the questions you want to ask Larry. Okay. Tell your friends, tell your family, anybody that's suffering with viral, bacterial, fungal, parasitical, bring it here. Because understand something, if you've got a disease, that means that you have one of these or all of them. And understand, most of the time, there's a parasite party. When one comes, they all come. So,
that's true.
So I want everybody to wake up and understand you can take your power back. And a good part of that is you watch what we've got to say about the sentient element. Okay. So Larry, what would you like to leave with everybody today?
The power of frequency, that having a earth field or harmonics can charge your cell, uncoagulate blood. That's going to carry more nutrients and more oxygen to the areas that need to go. Hydrating a cell, viruses don't like to live in a hydrated cell. So it's, when the virus comes from Asia or whatever, hydrate your cell.
Hydrate your cell. There it is.
Yeah, hydrate your cell.
Thank you, Larry. And thank you for joining me. And guess what, guys? Larry's going to be back in 2 days, 48 hours. That's Thursday, March the 19th at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We're going to take your questions live. I'll actually have my phone here. You can text in. And then also you can put your questions right now below in the chat, okay, on FaceTime here, up on YouTube, and even into our intercom on our website, or you could call them in if you're not that techie, and we're going to answer every question to the best of our ability. And just know this, until you get your questions answered, you're never going to get your power back. Larry, what would you like to say?
I want to say free research here. I'll look it up for you. So ask me a question about a condition. I'm on it because that's what I'm doing. It's not just about Lyme. It's about all this other crap that's going on in our environment. You got a detox. You got stuff coming from Asia. Is that the coronavirus is not the first thing to come. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's H1N something on its way. There's a lot of other things. So having a PEMF device is like having insurance.
Thank you, Larry. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for all your brilliant information. And you know what? It's the craziest thing, but you just know this, everyone, that, out of Larry's sickness comes health. Thanks, my friend. Now, I'd just like to tell all my viewers one more time is we'd love to see you here on Thursday, 3 p.m. Tell your friends, tell your family, okay? And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And my gift to you today, go to what's called my quick start at docofdetox.com. So email us at quickstart@docofdetox.com, and I'm going to give you my 6 gentle, loving steps to take your power back and to begin your healing journey. All you have to do is, just like I said, send us an email. And remember, everyone, every Monday you can join me for my Doc Talk Live Q&A, where I'll be answering all your questions on detox and nutrition and those emotions that are kind of taking you for a ride you don't want to go on. And remember, when you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe below and make sure you click on the bell to enable notifications. And understand, all our shows are time-stamped. So you'll be able to go where you asked your question to YouTube. This is on YouTube. And you can go right to where the question is to get the answer, so you don't have to play searching around and surfing, okay? Understand, okay? You can also watch, okay, any of our shows on audio, okay, on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and you can actually download these, okay? All right, so I want everybody to understand something. We need to take our power back on all levels, emotionally, physically, nutritionally, and understand something. The power to heal is a personal issue, and unless you're going to take massive personal action, okay, you're never going to take it back. You got to bring love home. You got to bring health home. Remember this. 3, 2, 1. You got this. Have a beautiful day. If you're looking for life-saving and life-changing information, well, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to click and subscribe. Stay connected.